Hi everybody, and welcome to the Endless Celts Podcast. I hope you're all well. Who's watched along? Literally in that intro, when I nearly choked him a crumpet, I forgot we were going live. But I'm joined by William Ross. How you doing?
All right, you fucking crumpet muncher.
Ross, about yourself?
I am good, mate. I did it. Something, the volume must have got turned up on my pad. You just about blew the heat off me there.
And even everyone in Corvo, Sam, Fran, and Jed are already in watching along, which is great to see. Craig White, the legend, as well. I mean, to be fair, there's Stephen Coulthard, last year's winner of the Super Six. Stephen Murdoch, they're all flying in. But, I mean, let's start, Willie, with the latest news. It's been a bit of a slow kind of couple of weeks in the January transfer window. A couple of things have been confirmed, more departures and obviously incomings at this precise moment. Today, and to be fair to Franny, the only time I've seen him when I quickly checked the chat was Kwan has joined St Mirren on loan. I've seen Stephen Robinson's quotes basically saying that he's been in conversation with Willie Lowell. Monty, you're laughing at that.
No, I've seen that.
I've seen his quotes.
Because it was Ross that sent that text, no Franny.
Aye.
Well, Ross, Franny, there we go. It's fine. He was saying he's been in conversation with Rodgers for quite some time over the state of Kwan and what he could add to St Mirren. I mean, Willie, is it a good move to kind of utilise the Scottish Premiership and send their loan players there instead of the likes of League One, League Two, get them top tier experience, and hopefully Kwan can shine when he's on loan?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I mean, it's worked before with the likes of Ayer at Kilmarnock and Christie at Aberdeen for us, so hopefully it does the same for fucking crumpet muncher up there. The same for Kwan. Obviously, when he came in, there was a lot raving about him, and a lot on this podcast especially say that we need a bit of for a lack of a better term, a bastard in midfield, and apparently he was that sort of player, but we've yet to see it. We've seen next to nothing of him. I think we've seen like 15 minutes of him in his whole time at Celtic. So for us fans as well, it's good to see because we'll get to see him week in, week out and have kind of our own interpretation of him as well. So yeah, it's always a positive for me. He's obviously a young, talented player. For him to go on loan, oh yeah, skills as well. Yeah, bang on, mate. To go on loan in the league, get game time, and it's obviously not too far away for us as well. So on a personal level for him, he's probably still in the same house, etc. So yeah, all good. It seems a good move for all parties concerned.
Yeah, it definitely does. And Monty is nothing short of giving you grief already. I mean, it's quite incredible.
I'm actually hiding the comments tonight because I end up people.
But I mean, like Willie said there in some of the comments that we've seen Ryan Christie, Ross, Christopher Ayer go to Kilmarnock. The likes of these players go and get top league experience and come back and actually make an imprint in the team. And when Kwan came in, he said he was going to be the best player in the league and he was going to get a move to the Bundesliga and all that type of stuff. On one hand, you welcome the confidence from a young player, but on the other hand, they have to be realistic. And it hasn't quite worked out for him. And like Willie said, we've seen probably 40 minutes of him. I think it was a testimonial, wasn't it? Forest against Atletico Bilbao he played. And he didn't look great at all. But as I said, hopefully this can springboard him. And Stephen Robinson, we know he plays with physicality. We know his teams are athletic and they like to go on the front foot and ping the ball as well. So, I mean, he's learning from a good coach that way, especially for the physical aspect of the game.
Aye, it's not going to do him any harm because we've spoke about it at length on this podcast. Everybody knows it. Like the football, obviously for the sort of youth, it's no great playing in the lowland league or whatever it is. So you're not up against good quality. So this is going to do him like the worldly good playing at the level, obviously that Celtic play at, and getting more experience in the league and getting games. I don't know if it's only 6 months, but as I say, it's not going to do him any harm. He'll hopefully get game time at St Mirren. You can't guarantee it because we've not actually seen enough of him to say that he's good enough to play for St Mirren. Never mind Celtic, but Stephen Robinson seems to think he is. So it'd be interesting to actually. I'll probably try and take in a few St Mirren games just to get a look at the guy and see what he maybe has got to offer. But as Willie said and yourself, it has worked in the past with guys like Ayer and Christie and all the rest of it. And why can't it work for him? Hopefully it can.
Comment by Celtic idiot. St Mirren must be looking to set up a B team. But it's true, and like you said, and even Pat McLaughlin was giving a wee bit of a shout to Monty there, saying he probably said the same about Scales and his opportunity at Celtic, and look at him now. And I know I've said dropping before, but we're not going to get into that tonight. We'll just leave that. But I think, for me anyway, it's a good move. And like you said, Stephen Robinson's a good coach, and we discussed this before when we played them. They're probably the only team outside of Rangers that give us a good battle, like physicality wise, athleticism, and all that type of stuff, and the press that they can do. So hopefully, in my opinion, he goes there and he learns of that, and he comes back and actually gets used to the Scottish game by getting minutes under his belt. And another player that's left the club on a permanent transfer. Now, this is, for me, it's strange, because I think he was in the team of the year in Japan again. I think he won an award at Iguchi. He came to us with the four, like Kyogo, Rio, and Dyson. And there were some pundits even saying that Iguchi could be the best out of the four of them. He's just had a bad break, didn't make it at Leeds, went to Germany and didn't quite make it there either, but third time the charm and all that. He came in, he played a game against Alaba, against Barry Ferguson's team, and we never really seen much more of him. Every time he came back into the team, he got injured. He was training, he was injured. And he made the move to Japan, and just like that, he kicked on. And maybe that's the environment. Maybe that's where he's comfortable in. And we've seen his post with his family. Maybe he just wants to be back home with his family. And when he done that on Instagram, and the players can get homesick, and maybe that's just a case for Iguchi. But for me, he was promising. We've seen him a few times, and he looked like he could ping a pass. He was good covering the ground, and he went back to Japan, Willie, and he was in the team of the year, and he's got to move to the Japanese champions and Vissel Kobe.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, sometimes it just doesn't work out. He's obviously had moves before on these shores. He was at Leeds, like you said, and that obviously move didn't come to fruition either. You're right, he just had so many injuries, didn't really get his chance, and we're so stacked in that area of the park. See when you've got a midfield three of Hatate, O'Reilly, and Kalmak, it's really, really difficult to get into that. I think there was even 5 or 6 players behind that midfield three that were in ahead of him. So it's obviously the best move for all parties concerned. It didn't work out. Not all signings do. But I'm not too disappointed. He didn't really show much when he was here, and obviously he had the injuries. So it's another one that's just the best move for all parties concerned. And I think I said to you guys in the group chat this week or last week that I think this window's probably going to be. It's more important for me. We need to offload a lot of players rather than bringing in a lot. I think we'll see 1 or 2 coming, obviously, but I think there's a lot of deadwood at the club that we need to get rid of, and I think we're seeing the start of it.
Yeah, and we're going to come to the rest of the squad as well. And I think what Corvo said here, Ross, we got a profit back in Gucci, which I suppose is a good thing. It's probably a minimal fee. I think it was over 800 grand, and we bought him for like 500 or 600. I mean, again, we did get a profit there. But any sentiments for yourself for Gucci going? It's one of these things, isn't it?
Listen, you've never seen enough of him. What I did see, he looked okay in fits and starts. If I remember right, he was maybe brought in to play that sort of 6 role. You look at it, and we've let Kwon go there. I think my memory serves me right, and he was brought in to play the 6 role. So you look at it, and you're like, maybe it was down to like just no settling in this country and just wanting. He's just like he prefers it back in his homeland, kind of thing. Because for me, if he was wanting to like stay at Celtic, and it was between him and Kwon, you would probably go for Ideguchi. But listen, he's gone now. It didn't work out for the guy, but I'm not too upset. But it would have been nice to have seen more of the guy, and for him to have a bit more luck and have stayed injury free for a bit longer to get a real shot at Celtic, because I don't think he ever did get that. Whether it was through ability, but certainly a lot it was to do with injury as well.
Yeah, 100%. Monty comes in, Ideguchi is pissed. You can't say that. He's in the team of the year in Japan. He definitely has something to offer. Like you said, Ross, maybe the environment didn't suit him. But Ross, coming back to yourself here, let's look at some of the squad. And I think it's pretty well known that Gustav Lagerbielke seems to be one that Rodgers doesn't quite fancy at this present moment. It is quite baffling how he come on and score a Champions League winner, and he's basically been put out the pasture. He's looking to move on and probably on loan, or hopefully a permanent transfer to recoup some money back of him. But if you look at our centre halves, the Rockies come up now, Scales, Carter Vickers, Welsh, I mean, is it just one of them ones? The four of them could be the core, and then Gustav just has to make way along with Nat Phillips, who thank fuck went back down to Liverpool.
I think it's starting to look like that. I mean, Lagerbielke's not left yet, but for me, I don't know about Nawrocki or Scales, but certainly in terms of this season anyway, I don't think that any time that, obviously Welsh has been injured, but I think any time that Lagerbielke's came in, and I've been a big defender of Welsh, I like him. I think any time that Lagerbielke's came in, he's done as good as Welsh. I've said it before. I can only remember one real mistake for him, and it was at Ibrox. But I think he's generally been okay. But listen, Rodgers has seen them in training every day, and we've got, as you say, we've got Carter Vickers, Scales, Nawrocki, and Welsh. So
That's a belter.
He doesn't look like Fowler Grant either, right enough. What was I saying? So we've got the four defenders, and for me, if you're playing four at the back, you're playing two centre halves. Probably, I said at the start of the season, I don't want to do it again, but I said at the start of the season that four defenders would be enough, and then everybody who is a centre half got injured for us a week later. So that can happen. For me, I'll be inclined to keep a hold of Lagerbielke because I don't think he's had enough of a shot. Obviously, we're going to get further into the squad, but when you look at guys like Mikey Johnson and stuff like that, I would regard them as more dead wood than a Lagerbielke who's only been in the door, 6 months. I think I've liked what I've seen him. I'm not saying he's going to be a definite starter, but right now, I don't think, obviously, Scales is the definite starter, but Nawrocki's looked all right. I think Welsh is no bad. I think Nawrocki probably is just, on the evidence of the last few games, is just slightly in front of Lagerbielke and Welsh. He could possibly take over for Scales, but I wouldn't be rushing Lagerbielke out the door. But if Rodgers wants to do it, he'll know better than me because he sees him week in, week out.
Yeah, and again, that question comes up about attitude. Well, you've heard this before, attitudes in training. We all thought Nawrocki was a part of that, but again, he's come in and Rodgers has said he performs well in training and he's going to play a vital part in the second part of the season. And you look at it, from my opinion, Lagerbielke got, I think it was Defender of the Year with the previous club he was at in Sweden. He got his first international cap. He scored a goal. And he's above Starfelt in that packing order as well, which is quite ironic because we let Starfelt go to the Celta Vigo. Comes into us, and look, for what it's worth, I don't think it was a Rodgers signing. I think it was one that maybe was pre-planned and a wee bit down the road when Rodgers came in and he's given the go-ahead to do that. Like he has admitted on several occasions in press conferences, but then he flip-flops and changes his mind. But with Lagerbielke, he played with Scales in the Ibrox game, and like Ross said, we won that game. It was a pressure environment. They came through it, they won. He played in Europe. Yeah, he was naive, but so was Thiago Holmes, so was the other players who were having their debuts. So again, he could grow in that environment. And I just find it strange. I haven't seen anything, from my opinion, around like he won't make it or he's not good enough. I think he's quick in the tackle. He's good at passing the ball and he's strong in the air. Like we're seeing, obviously he was unopposed, but he still scored a header in the Champions League. So I don't understand where this is coming from. But maybe, like Ross has said, it's Rodgers and he's just like, I don't fancy it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not privy to what happens in the training, on the training park. And so... I mean, it's different for seeing what we've seen, and Rodgers is obviously. I'm not going to question his what he thinks of Lagerbielke with training every week, but I totally agree with the two of you. It's like every time he's came in, and I'm not super impressed, but he's done it. He's been a 6, 7 out of 10 every time I've seen him play. He's never been horrendous. So yeah, it's a strange one, but I mean, we don't know the ins and outs. Maybe because he's not been getting as much game time as he thought. He's went to Brendan himself, and they've had the conversation, and he maybe wants to go out on loan or whatever it is he's want to do. But he's clearly a decent player with his, like you said, his previous accolades with his previous club in that league. But I mean, that's a number of players now you've said we've signed that have been player of the seasons in the league, and they kind of get a look in our team. So it's interesting.
It's strange. It's strange. What do you mean by that, though? What do you mean by that? Because is that like that they obviously have quality and they're just not working out, or is it just they're player of the season and the league's not competitive enough? Why do you think it's happening?
I don't know. No idea.
Strange, like
especially
with Lagerfeld.
Yeah, but like we say, every one of us is in agreement that he's never done a bad job whenever he has played. So it's difficult for him as well because he's came in and like you said, it seems like he's fourth or fifth in the pecking order. Corvo, I agree with that. I think if he's not going to play, then letting him go on loan is probably a good idea. But when I seen the rumours that he's likely to go, and you know me with rumours, but I seen it was on Sky Sports News, so I was a bit like, whoa. I was a bit surprised, to be honest with you. I didn't think he'd be exiting the door in this window, which obviously he might not still. But when you sit back and look at it, he's right. He's probably is fifth out of first team centre defenders that we've got now, fifth choice. So it is difficult. I think in an ideal world, a loan move away would be perfect for all parties concerned. And
the comments are on fire tonight. I'm telling you.
I have no idea. I mean, everybody goes on about all these leagues are the Scottish league's pish compared to all these leagues, but all these player of the seasons are coming in and kind of get a look in. Maybe the Scottish league isn't as bad as what it's made out to be, and maybe these other leagues aren't as good. Maybe it's just a matter of they can't settle. In Glasgow, it's a massive, massive club compared to what these guys are used to, and maybe the pressure. I don't know. It could be any number of things. A lot of things that we're not privy to that we don't see. Like Ideguchi, like he could have came in and hit the ground running just like Kyogos and the Tatis did, but he clearly is an unsettled player away from his home comforts because it's not worked out at Leeds or other countries as well. So, which again is another thing that you hate to take. I think that's a thing that Ange used to say when he was talking about the person as well as a player, because they could be the best player in the world and come and be utter dog shit because they're not settled or they can't. You know what I mean? So, it's a difficult one. But with Lagerbielke, I think he's fairly far down the pecking order. So, it would be ideal if we get a loan move. But saying that, Ross is right. Everybody was injured about 3 months ago, and we were down to just him and Scales. So, but I don't think he's going to be wanting to sit on the bench. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens between now and the end of the window with him.
I think as well, like you said, it's a mentality thing. When you come in from a club in Sweden that hold about 5,000, and then you're thrusted into a 60,000 arena, sometimes that could probably weigh in your mind. And look, Celtic are born and bred champions, and that kind of winning mentality has to be game after game after game, because we see it on here among ourselves in the comments after a draw or a loss. It's bang, it's catastrophe, it's Armageddon, and people are going off the rockers, and that's after one game. Never mind 2 defeats in a row. But I do agree. I think Seagrass, we're going to come on to him next, but I think Lagerbielke, I think it's just one of them things. I think Rodgers has obviously made his mind up very early on, and even Naraki went back in and took that position off him when it looked like he was ahead of him. So Naraki, it looks like it's going to kick on. But another person, Willie, that's probably looking out the doors in the goalkeeping department, and that's Benji Seagrass. Again, it's probably a quick one here. I know Rodgers has said about Joe Hart still playing a vital role in the team looking into the summer, and I think even talking about keeping him as well, having that discussion with him, hopefully as number 2. But Seagrass, he's a fella to me. He just loves that part. I know you're going to say.
Pick up one of the crumpets and bang it right in your gum again.
He just loves the party with Celtic players. Like, he's just taking pictures. He's drinking all the time. He's on holiday with his missus.
So with that, if I wasn't playing, I'd be doing the same fucking thing.
He's having the life of it, mate. And I hear he's having the life of it by the looks of his Instagram stories and that. It's quite incredible. But Seagrass from Dundee United, I think we can all agree he's been an absolute failure.
Yeah, I mean, you can look back. I wasn't keen on the signing in the first place. I thought he was a decent keeper at Dundee United, but I never thought he was going to be one to come and overthrow Joe Hart. And anyway, I know a lot of people clamoured for it, maybe the start of the season or the tail end of last season, but for me, I didn't understand the signing, especially because they gave Scott Bain a contract before it as well. Like, if Scott Bain wasn't going to be at the club, I can totally understand that he can come in and him and Joe Hart kind of fight for that number one shirt. But because Scott Bain's there as number two and Joe Hart's clearly the number one, it was always a strange signing for me anyway. And again, I didn't think he was better than Joe Hart, so it's a strange it's a strange one where when he came in for me, and it doesn't surprise me whatsoever that we're in the situation with him that we are now, because I can never see him breaking into that first team. So for me, it's another one that if and when he goes, I'm not going to be too broken-hearted about it, to be honest with you. I don't think it's a massive loss to the club.
Yeah, and I think it's the sad indictment, Ross, when Scott Bain remains number two, when you're supposed to be signing the challenge for the number one spot, and he just totally flopped.
I'm a bit like Willie in the sense that I didn't think that he was coming in. I think he was brought in to try and challenge Hart for the number one, but I didn't ever think for 1 second that he would oust Hart for that number one spot. He had a couple of good games. He looked a decent shot stopper and stuff like that. But
that's the order, by the way. I was born in Dundee and I've been to the Maldives.
Aye, but he never blew me away. So I wasn't that bothered about him. Like, I wasn't pushing for him to come in. It just seemed not a lazy signing, but it was just like, it seemed like it was an easy option just to bring in a guy that was doing okay in the Scottish League. But listen, again, it's another one, probably a long list of signings in the last maybe 2 windows that haven't quite worked out. But listen, there's been good ones as well, and there's ones that you can see that it's got potential and that you can see that there will possibly be a player there, but there is a list that's probably a bit too long of players that we're getting out the door now that haven't had much opportunity, and they've just got it wrong. The board or whoever's sanctioning it, they've just got it completely wrong.
I think that's a fair point, by the way, about the see what he says about the lazy signing thing, and it's every window. But even now, it's like Shankland and Majowski, and previously it was Porteous and all the rest of it. And it seems to me like these guys are never going to. It's very rare that any of these people come in and they nail down a spot. There's obviously certain individuals like Scott McDonald and all the rest of it that came in and smashed it. But like Shankland and Majowski, for me, aren't they going to come in and oust Kyogo? So it'd be the exact same situation as Siegrist. They're not going to come in and fight for that shirt. I don't think they're anywhere near Kyogo ability-wise. And it's same previous with like Porteous and all the rest of them that we're getting touted with. I just think it is. It's and Ange said it himself. Well, I always talk about Alex Ferguson. It's like when you're signing these players, and obviously there is a bit of like you need to sign this person as a backup or whatever. But 9 times out of 10, when you're in a window, you want to sign somebody to improve the team or push for the shirt. And I don't think these players are that. And I think Siegrist is definitely one of them.
100%. I totally agree with that. Plonsby Lug comes in with an interesting one. Ross, Siegrist is good enough to oust Hart. It's got nothing to do with his ability, why he's not playing. He fell out. Something happened behind the scenes we don't know about. Do you think that's a good comment, or do you think that even in general, do you not think Siegrist would have been good enough to take that position?
Well, he's not shown that in a Celtic jersey, so I don't know how you can say with any great certainty that he would be good enough to oust Hart. He didn't come in and like Ange went straight away, right, I've signed you, you're my man, and he put him right into the team. That didn't happen, so that right away tells me that Ange didn't think that he was a better goalie than Hart, but he wanted another option to try and push Hart onto another level, maybe. But Siegrist never done that. He's just came up to the mark. I don't know if playing at Celtic has been too big. Listen, there maybe has been some sort of fallout, but I mean, the fallout would have came when Ange was there. Brendan Rodgers has come in, and Siegrist, I don't know if he's fell out with Rodgers, but if he's fell out with Rodgers, then that's two people he's fell out with. Rodgers hasn't picked him to play before Hart, and everybody's, even myself, is conceding now at this point. Probably in the summer, I would say that we have the goalkeeper area has to be looked at, and we have to try and improve on Hart because he is at the latter stages of his career. But that's two managers that Siegrist has played under now, and whether it's a fallout or not, he's not taking Hart's position, and Hart hasn't performed absolutely outstanding this season. He has had good games, he's had some dodgy moments, yet he's still nowhere to be seen. So that, for me, it's more about ability, but I concede that there has been some sort of fallout at somewhere down the line as well. But I don't know, but for me, he wasn't, and he wasn't going to be, and he hasn't been the answer for to be Celtic's number one.
Yeah, I mean, Willie, to kind of round it off, the whole when we went on that Australian tour, came back and he was in love with somebody, and I think he's after that he's just wanted to be in Australia by the looks of it. But what Pat McLaughlin is saying, and Pam as well, if there is a fault, like, and Ross, if there's a falling out between two separate managers and the rest of the coaching staff, I think that's more of a slight on him and his attitude. Would you not say, if he's fallen out with every manager that he's worked with under Celtic so far?
If that's the case, I don't know if that's the case. If that's the case, then yeah. But I mean, it could be any number of things. He's been unfortunate in the sense that Joe Hart stayed fit as well. If all our defenders had been fit for the start of the season, Scales would be nowhere near this team. He'd have been out the door. But he got fortunate. He got his chance and he took it. Siegrist hasn't had that, unfortunately for him. But I mean, again, you're right. There's two managers. He's in training every day. If he was doing it in training, he would be getting his chance. But he's clearly not good enough.
Is there any goalkeeper in the SPL you would take now?
Nah.
Ross?
Jack Butland.
Butland's 30.
Oh, wow. No, but genuinely. Anybody?
Craig Gordon. But
really?
No, Craig. No, listen. Craig Gordon's 40. I wouldn't be taking him at Celtic now, but I think he's 40. But listen, I've not seen enough of the guy, but seemingly the Kilmarnock goalkeeper is he gets a lot of good write-ups. Whether
Tennessee,
he can make the grade, I can't mind, but I can't. No, Dennis. Is it not Dennis?
Dennis, that's him. Yes. Yeah.
But whether he can make the grade at Celtic is another thing. But I don't know. Probably not. But for to take over for Joe Hart, I wouldn't say there's anybody in this league that you could say with any confidence could come in and sort of make that position their own. I think we probably have to look further afield. I think we probably are looking further afield. And listen, people say that they want a goalkeeper in this window. I wouldn't be like Anthony Dunn. I wouldn't be wanting to be changing my goalkeeper halfway through a season unless we can get somebody that is going to be markedly better than Joe Hart. But again, whether that happens remains to be seen.
Yeah, and I think Rodgers has kind of echoed that as well. He's not really looking at that as a priority. He did mention there is. The kettle's boiling. He did mention the fact that and also I'm in an airplane. This is all sad. There's nothing here.
But there's turbulence.
Oxygen mask coming down. That. But I think Rodgers has said that the priority isn't that. Maybe in the summer he'll look at it. But for what it's worth, I know you'll probably laugh. I'll take Kemar Roos at Aberdeen any day of the week. I think he's a fantastic goalkeeper. And he's one for me that would come in and replace Joe Hart. That's in my opinion. If we're looking in the SPL,
the last three seasons you'd have had half the fucking Aberdeen team.
I think Kemar Roos is decent, but Ross, there's a couple of other players. We'll quickly round off this bit. Mikey Johnson and Marco Tilio, two wingers. Tilio came out there. I think he's away to the Asian Games with Australia, which again is probably a surprise inclusion for himself. He's done basically nothing since he's been at Celtic. He's basically confirmed that there's maybe a low move on the offing for him. And then your favourite fellow, Mikey Johnson, I just think kaput. I think he just needs to go now. There's no need for him no more.
Aye, there absolutely is not. I mean, he's just not going to make the grade at Celtic. It's plain and simple. He's probably a nice guy. I feel like I'm going on about Mikey Johnson all the time, every podcast, and I feel it's unfair. But he's getting put in to this team, and he's not good enough. He's nowhere near good enough for Celtic. He's got some ability, but he isn't consistent enough, and he's not good enough. I wouldn't loan him out. I would just sell him. Listen, you're not going to lose out on him because he came up through the sort of youth ranks. So just take whatever you can get from him. And thanks for your service, Mikey. And I know you're a Celtic man, but listen, I would love to play for Celtic, but I'm not good enough. Do you know what I mean? That's just how it is, plain and simple. And then Teleo, a guy. What we laughing at here?
Man.
He's trying. I like it. I like the effort.
Oh my God! Michael Jackson. My God.
What's Michael Jackson's favourite activity day on holiday? Ski.
Oh my God.
Fuck's sake.
Fucking hell, will he never do that again?
Teleo. I've not seen enough of the guy again, but it seems like we're bringing another winger in. Abada's coming back.
Appreciate that.
Oh my God.
Go ahead, Ross. Sorry, go ahead.
Abada's coming back. Possibly signing Kühn. We've got Palma. We've got plenty of wingers, and he's not going to get a run in the team. It looks for all the world similar to Lager Bielka, and that Rodgers doesn't fancy him. But there's a slight frustration with me. If Rodgers doesn't fancy them, why did he green light it? Although they're far down the line, but it's just a wee bit like has he not had a proper look at them and just thought, I'll just take these guys, and see how they go, and it's just not worked out. But if it is that, I don't think that's very fair because these are people's careers that we're talking about. What's going on here?
I'm listening.
There's so many Michael Jackson puns, isn't there?
That's all it's planning here. It's all planning.
I've totally lost my train of thought.
You're on about
you said you were frustrated by Rodgers.
Aye, but listen, that if he's green lighted them without properly looking at them, then it's a bit unfair. And now he's just wanting to maybe get rid of them and loan them out. This is guys' careers. Like they didn't need to come to Celtic. Listen, of course these guys want to come to Celtic. It's a great opportunity for them, but I don't know. Again, you're not privy to what's actually going on behind the scenes. And Rodgers has came in there and he's assessing the squad in that first window. So I really don't know. But this window, it's January, so I don't expect us to bring in any more than probably 2 players, which will not please a big chunk of the fans. But you have to get real and understand what sort of window we're operating in here. Rodgers, hopefully, he'll properly come to the fore and properly be back in the summer. But just to add a couple of wee bits, that we'll probably go into what we think we need in this window. But I think if we get 2 in this window, and as Willie said, he thinks that it's more important to trim the squad. I think it absolutely is important. I think it's just as important to get a couple of bodies in. But as long as we do that and trim the squad, then I'll be more than happy. But I think that Teleo has to be part of that. He's not shown enough, and it would probably benefit him. Again, like Bielka, going out and loan and maybe playing more football like Cohen. I don't know. Has he been linked with anybody?
Mikey?
No, Teleo.
Not. I think it's back to Australia. It looks more likely. There's no other
Aye.
clubs. I don't think there is. I mean,
Well,
he could make the move. He could make the move in the Scottish Premiership.
well, see, it's similar to what we were talking about earlier, like say Ayer going to Kilmarnock, Christie going to Aberdeen, Scales going to Aberdeen. I think if memory serves me, Tom Rogic came to Celtic, and then he went back to Australia, back on loan
Yep.
for a wee bit, and then he came back and he was an absolute sensation. So, listen, you're not writing Telly off. Maybe he'll do that, because when Rogic came in and wasn't really playing in that, and then he went away, you thought, this is another one of these guys. It's a waste of money. And he comes back and he's like one of the best Celtic players I've seen technically in my life, in my lifetime. So Telio might go away and he might get better and come back and do what Rogic done. I mean, you have to caveat that with the fact that he might come back and just not make the grade. But this is what happens. It's Celtic they operate in a market where you're going to get probably almost as many hits as you get misses, and you just have to hope that you just have to hope that they'll get more hits than misses, but you just have to accept at the same time that you won't get everyone right, because we're the market we're sort of operating in, and the budget that we have in the league that we're bringing these players to. It's difficult to attract people who you can pretty much guarantee are going to be great players for the club.
Yeah, no, 100%. We'll come on to the recruitment side of things. And what you were saying about Tilio potentially going out on loan, I think it's probably the best option for him. I think he's basically said that on Australian TV. And he even said, well, he feels the fittest that he's ever done, robust, that type of thing. He's referenced the training and stuff at Celtic, kind of bringing him to a new level. But just at this moment, he's, 20? And he's not going to break in. I wouldn't say colour losses and sell him. I agree with Ross totally. If he can go back to Australia, to a club again, maybe 18 months and then come back again and then try get into the team that way, I think that's a fantastic move. But the comments again, I do want to say, are an absolute fire. There's been some cracking puns and jokes coming in about MJ, and it is a bit of a joke, Willie, that he's still with the club, in my opinion. I know he scored recently. He scored a double, and people were going, maybe he's going to kick on again, but it's the same old story. And the week after that, again, he's pacing Greg Taylor shouting at him to track back, and you just see his level where he's at. And I know Rodgers gave him the confidence boost by saying he's one of the best academy products he's ever seen come out of Celtic, which is probably true in a roundabout way in terms of skill, technique, but definitely not consistency, definitely not doing over a long period of time. And Mikey done well in Portugal, so I'm thinking a warmer climate, European club might suit him better.
Yeah, I mean, we've all said it till we're blue in the face that he's had numerous opportunities, and he's just not got there. The only reason he's had a chance in the team this year is because of the countless injuries we've had. But the problem is we've still got people out, and the people are away at the Asia Cup, so it's difficult this January because Mikey Johnson's probably fourth choice or something, third or fourth choice in the wing at the moment, because we've got people away, and like Maeda and all that's away. So it's a difficult time to possibly get rid. I don't think we will get rid of him in January. I think he might go in the summer. I think we'll keep him to the end of the season. I just think with the way the squad is at the moment, like Satelio and that aren't getting a sniff either. Right now, Maeda and Yang are away. We're sitting with, what have we got? Abada's back fit, Palma, and then behind that we've only got Forrest and Johnston. Am I missing anybody else? So
Yang.
He's away. He's at the Asia Cup as well. So we're struggling.
Right enough.
So we're actually struggling for depth in the position at the moment, unless we bring one or two in. Obviously, Kühn's going to. It looks like he's ready to sign in the dotted line. So, but I don't think they'll let him go because of that. And obviously, Rodgers still thinks there is a player in there, and he showed glimpses this year, but he's just not. Yeah, I mean, I've said it 100 times before, and I'll say it 100 times again. He's had countless chances, and he's just not good enough, unfortunately. But yeah, I still think it'll be similar to the first half of the season. I think he'll stay. He'll get game time here and there, but I think we should probably be looking to get rid in the summer. With Tilio, it's a strange one again, but much like Iraguchi and all the rest of them, they've came in with promise, and you see the fucking Amido Balde YouTube clips where it looks brilliant for a minute and a half because you're seeing all his best stuff, but he's just not cut it. And it's interesting you say there about, I never knew that. Telios came out and said he feels the strongest and fittest he's been, because it was only a matter of weeks ago Rodgers was saying he's nowhere near fitness wise in the training and all the rest of it. So obviously there's a bit of a difference of opinion there and between him and the manager, which is definitely not going to be in his favour if that's the case. And listen, as much as we can say, like, I'll sit here and say, and I've got my opinion on everything, but I trust the manager implicitly. And if he doesn't think Tillio's good enough to get ahead of James Forrest and Michael Johnson, then he's not good enough for Celtic.
Yeah, no, 100%. And see, to be fair, we could have sat and talked about the whole the summer transfer window previously, and what players are going to move on, and like of James McCarthy, but that would have took up a whole podcast, and no problem. People want to get on to the news incomings. But before we get to there, Willie, let's talk about Leo Bada. There's been a lot of talk online, social media. Stephen McGowan brung out a piece, and he's usually quite reliable, but it looked like he brung out a piece, kind of the timeline of events from his injury to coming back, and there's rumours he's unsettled, and I don't want to obviously go into what's going on in the countries and that's probably affecting him. We all know where we all stand as a majority of a supporter base. I'm not saying, speaking on behalf of everybody here, but there's a constant rumour, there's a constant chat that Lila Bada wants away. There's also a rumour maybe a loan move that could be possible for him, which again I just don't quite understand. If he's wanting the club that bad, what has actually happened? And Rodgers come out a couple of weeks ago saying he's happy with the new contract that he signed, and then there was talk after the St Mirren game he walked straight down the tunnel. Apparently, didn't get involved with the celebrations and things like that. That's what I've seen. So I don't know here. What do you think's going on? And could Celtic afford to let Lila Bada go with the numbers and stats he provides?
No, I think even if we had plenty of depth, I still wouldn't want to be letting him go. I think he's a fantastic prospect. If he stays the majority of his contract and does what he's done the first couple of seasons he's been here, we'll sell him for stupid money. So I think it'd be crazy. Obviously, if he's got stuff going on, that's a different case. But that we had the same situation in the summer. Everybody was saying he's away and he's sold and all the rest of it, and that wasn't the case. I reckon a bit like the Hatate thing the other night, where he was crying on pitch and everybody's like, oh, that's his last game, he's away, but he was actually emotional because he's been on an injury. Abada's probably the same. He's been out of the game for a number of months now. He'd be wanting to get going. I reckon if he didn't get injured and he was the same rich veiny form as Matt O'Reilly and scored however many goals and got however many assists, we wouldn't be having this conversation now. I just think once he gets back in and he gets a run of games and he gets amongst the goals again, this rumour will be absolute, like the rear view mirror, and absolute nonsense again. I think it's nonsense. I think he will, especially with Maeda being away, he will be in that first 11 every week for the foreseeable, and I think he'll score a number of goals and he'll be brilliant for us again this season. I don't see him leaving.
Yeah, there's definitely, like John Mulaney said, he says here, Ross, there's definitely something being cooked behind the scenes by media or by whoever is involved in all this, and it's quite, I mean, some of it is quite disgusting. Obviously, it came out today that he knows people affected by the conflict, and look, that's fair enough, but using that as headlines, using that as clickbait, and using that to make a player unsettled or trying to emphasise that he wants to move away when that hasn't been confirmed by either party. Again, it's speculation here, and Plunge McNugget came in and said it's been denied. And if we go back up the comments, and I'll throw this to you, Michael Mitchell said, gut feeling, do you think Abada will be a Celtic player at the end of the transfer window? And also for what you would have said to Willie, where do you stand in this whole current thing surrounding him? I think it's just because he's from Israel and the media are just blowing this out of proportion. And I think from my opinion, I think Rodgers and Abada have had a chat. It's been settled, and Rodgers wouldn't come out and say he's happy if Abada's feeling indifferent or he wants to leave. I don't think that conversation would have took place, and then Rodgers telling shit about it. That's the truth, in my opinion. So the media are up to some dodgy tricks here, from my point of view.
I think they are. I think they're sort of jumping on the back of, was it the Israel? I think it was the Israel manager had maybe said previously about him needing to leave Celtic, and then I think there was, I don't know if there was a teammate even more recently had sort of urged him to be looking to leave Celtic. But to answer, was it Michael Mitchell you said, to answer his question?
Yeah.
I think my gut feeling is that he will be at Celtic. I think, as Plunge McNugget said, it has been denied that he's looking to get out of the club. I don't listen. They're obviously the issues, the stuff going on in Palestine and stuff like that in Israel, but I don't think Abada can base his career on that. It's not Celtic as a club. It's obviously certain sections of the sport are supporting Palestine, and he's for Israel. But listen, that's another matter completely for what he's doing in his career. And right now, he's just back for injury, and he's looking to make his way back into the team. And he's got, as Wally said, he's going to have a real opportunity to get a good run of games and get his fitness back up to full speed with Maeda being away. And I think he will come in and he'll do that and he'll thrive. And I think he'll be like a new signing for us in the second half of the season. Obviously, we've had him for a wee while now, but in terms of this season, if you look at it, we've not had him. So for to have Abada as an option for the second half of the season, which is the business end of the season, then I think Celtic would be absolutely crazy to let him go. Obviously, it might be taken out of their hands if they've got a player that really wants to leave, but I don't see that. I know that obviously people have said that he went down the tunnel at, after the St Mirren game. Maybe he's obviously the players going, and I'm not. This is not a slant in the Green Brigade, by the way. But obviously the players go and they celebrate in front of the Green Brigade and stuff like that. And as you said, Stephen, he's got people, or he knows people that have been affected in the atrocities over there, and he maybe just wants to distance himself from all that, because there'll be people in his country who'll say, "Why are you sort of celebrating with people that support Palestine?" So he's just taking himself away from that situation. Probably Brendan Rodgers has said to him, "Look, don't go over there when we're doing that. Obviously, have a clap the fans or whatever, but don't go over and celebrate in front of the Green Brigade, because it adds fuel to the fire, and he doesn't need to do that. He just needs to get his head down and play football." And I think personally, I think that's what he will do in the second half of the season, and everything else will just be blocked out, because that's what he needs to do, because he's a professional.
I think if there was ever an indicator of where we stand with Abada is when he came on in the Derby game, and that reception he received when he came onto the pitch.
Exactly.
And as a professional football player, I'm sure he felt that as well, felt that from the stands. We support him. He's a Celtic player first and foremost. Do you know what I mean? He represents our club. And I've loved Abada the time he's been here, and I hope he stays longer. From my point of view, Willie, I think it's a bit of a bad, it's a bit shit, and I'm not going to try and find posh words for it when I actually can't, that as Israeli managers putting pressure on him to leave, and I'm sure like that's obviously going to affect him, because he, like, regardless, he obviously loves representing his national team, like the way Near Beaton did and things like that. So he's feeling, as Ross said, he's feeling pressure from all angles, and that must be tough to get your head around, because on the other hand, you want to be with your teammates, but then you're going to create a media storm. You're going to get hate from the country you're born in, and it's a catch-22, really, isn't it? He's stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, obviously it's a tough time for him, and he's still a young lad. He's only 20, 21. But I mean, if I was him, I'd just be getting my head down, try to get fit again, get in the team, and do what I do best. And then a lot of these problems will just kind of disappear. If he does what he does best, as the Israel manager, I'll no drop him for the team, and I see if he stays injury free between now and the end of the season, even though he's missed half the season. I would put money on that he'll be one of our top 3 or 4 top goal scorers in the squad, because he's got that ability, and we've seen it plenty of times where he drifts into the back post and gets goals. He's got such a knack. All our wingers, he's obviously a totally different player for the likes of Palman and stuff. He's, for me in the team, other than Kyogo, he's probably our biggest goal threat. So yeah, listen, get your head down, play your football, and all the rest will come good. Obviously, all the atrocities and that's a different matter. But with regards to his football and the Israeli national team and all the rest of it, if he's doing the business for Celtic, he'll get picked for Israel. That'll all take care of itself. But obviously, us as football fans, and I say it all the time with signings and all the rest of it as well, we don't see. Yeah, exactly. Punch. Absolutely bang on. We don't see all that personal side of things, and we just, these guys are robots and they should be performing week in, week out. But this stuff is obviously going to affect the young lad. But I honestly think you'll see it'll be like a new signing this season because we've missed him badly this year. He'll come in, and if he stays injury free, he'll score goals for fun for us between now and the end of the season.
We've missed him badly.
Aye.
Sorry.
Oh, God. Right. But
I thought we were doing puns.
I mean, Jesus Christ. I don't know where to start with that one. McFarlane wins tonight. Like, McFarlane wins 1-on-1 here. But there's a few contrasting comments. And look, again, I bring up every comment. And I mean, Jed comes in. I don't think it's Jed Thomas. It's not him. Being realistic, why would Abada stay? Coming out of the tunnel and being faced with all those Palestinian flags, I would not stay. That's fair enough, Jed. You're entitled to your own opinion on that front. Pat Santers, let's be honest, Abada is a good young player, and this Celtic fans waving what is political is not good enough. And if I was Abada, I'd be away long ago. So there's people among our fan base that do probably understand and sympathise where he's coming from. So I mean, it's good to hear both sides of the arguments, and it'll always be welcome on the Endless Celts podcast as well. But I mean, there's a player, Ross, that could be incoming. And people are saying, is it to replace Abada? It's Nicolas Kühn, I believe. He's from Rapid Vienna. He's a winger, predominantly right-sided, but can play across the number 10 on the left. I think his stats are something like it this season: 22 appearances, 7 goals, and 3 assists. He's also represented Ajax, Bayern Munich, a couple of teams like that. Obviously didn't work out for him with them clubs, but he's been a star man for Rapid Vienna. The rumour is £3 million or €3 million that Celtic have negotiated for him. And then on the other hand, people are saying, is this a direct replacement for Abada because he's right-sided and basically same profile as him in terms of goals and assists at his parent club at the moment?
Is he right-sided? I thought he was.
Yeah, he's right-sided.
I thought he was playing on the left, for what I've seen.
I thought he played on the left,
Is he that? Well, whatever side he is, he can play across the front three. And there's people saying,
listen, I don't think it'll be I've obviously already said that I think Abada will still be here come the end of the window. So that being said, I would have to then say that I don't think he's going to be a direct replacement for him, but it might well be that he is. It might transpire that, that Abada does want to go. Again, it's not something we're privy to, we're sort of guessing, but in terms of the guy, we spoke about him last week, and I didn't really know much about him. I've seen, it was a 5-minute YouTube video, his best bits. I got to about 2 minutes, and the tune was doing my boxing, and it was just the same kind of stuff. So I can't even mind, but it was just the same old pish that you see on YouTube. You can never properly make a proper judgment on a player again until they're in and playing for Celtic, and you see what they can do then. But in terms of, I might be wrong, but I think he's a left-sided player, and he looks. I seen somebody online, I don't know who it was, but it's somebody online saying that he's essentially Tilio, just the way he plays, and Tilio never made it. But I mean, I think Tilio's he's not done the business, but I think that's the type of player that we're missing at the minute. A guy who is direct and runs at players. Palma can run at players, but he's not a dribbler. He comes inside, playing off the left-hand side. And I spoke about it last week. You get that overload because Greg Taylor's playing as an inverted fullback. And when teams are playing deep, it's no working. We need to hit the byline more. And if this guy can come in and be more direct and hit the byline, and he's got the quality of Palma's delivery on a cross, then we'll be all the better for it. It gives us another option, and it stretches defences when they are playing deep. We really need that because it's been really apparent from the first half of the season that when we come inside, if we don't get an early goal, teams start falling into their shape and everything's in front of them and they can sort of deal with it. You seen the St Mirren game, the first goal we spoke about when McGregor picks it up and he just plays it into Matt O'Reilly and then he plays it in through the lines into Maeda. Maybe Kühn can offer that on the other side. And listen, I'm not saying he's going to take Palmer's place because Palmer's come in and he's done quite well. But without knowing enough about the guy, it looks like a different option for what we've got out there at the minute. I'm not saying a better option, but a different option. And I think a different option is what we need to give us more variety in our attacking and our options in the attacking third of the field. I don't think he's going to be a Jota, but he looks to me like a more direct winger, and I think we need that in the team. So I'd be happy without seeing enough of him that he's signing on the face of what I think he might be.
From the what I've seen of him, well, like what Ross said, he can eliminate players, go by them, also provide assists, and again, whether it's left or right, he cuts in and he likes his shot like most of our wingers do. And Sean the Mac is kind of echoing what Ross said about variation in the play. There's a few shouts in the comments for this. Could we put Maeda for the middle while, just for example, Kyogo's having a dip or he's on the bench, and we'll have two wingers now. We'll have Kühn, we'll have Palma, play Maeda there. So it does offer different variations of attack. And then on the other hand, and I'm going to come to you, Ross, for this because I'm actually interested in what you both had to say. I think it was Pat was saying the fees £2.8 million. Celtic need to up the ante. Now you're going to get this because of the fee again. It's not 6, 7, 8, 9 million pounds. But from what I can tell, from what I've read, and it's very little, if I'm honest, much like Ross, he seems to be a key man for Rapid Vienna. He's providing the assists, the goals. He's an excellent winger by accounts and all the stats I've read on Twitter. £2.8 million might be the market value for that league. That could be just it. Rapid Vienna probably aren't in a financial position to say no. So you do get fans who would say that about the fee, much like myself. But again, with Kühn, obviously if we get rid of Johnson, get rid of Tillio, and kind of offload the deadwood, as we spoke about at the start of the podcast, I think to me it'd be another good addition to have in the ranks.
Is that for
Was
Ross?
that to me, sorry?
No, Willie.
I thought you said you were going back to Ross about it.
No, I'm going back to Ross about the fee. That's what I meant.
Right, okay. Yeah, I mean, with the Maeda thing, I can totally get where everybody's coming from. I mean, the manager, the whole of pre-season, stuck Maeda up top at points, and then even the beginning of the season, he was taking Kyogo off with half an hour to go and leaving Maeda on and putting him up top. So, yeah, that's definitely an option. With regards to Kühn, again, you know me, like many others, I've not got a Scooby-Doo, and I won't until I see him. Like everybody's been saying in the chat, YouTube can make you look like Prime Zidane or whatever. I could put clips up myself and make myself look like that good. And with regards to the directness, I mean, I think that is definitely something we're lacking. Definitely something we're lacking. Again, with the YouTube thing, I could upload clips of Yang and just his time at Celtic and make a 5-minute clip and make him look brilliant and direct and all the rest of it. So I'm not going to go off that. But by what I'm reading, he seems to be a decent talent. What I would say about this as well is Rodgers is going to have had a massive say in this signing, so he can definitely be judged on this signing 100%. And it looks like it's a man he wants. So again, like I said earlier, I trust him implicitly. And I mean, that's the Glasgow Celtic way. We want wingers that try to take full-backs on and hit the line or come inside. And if that's what he's going to bring, then brilliant. But again, like he could be another Tillio. We won't know until we see him in the flesh and see him in the hoops and see what he does for the club. But yeah, it's exciting to see players come in. I've been saying it. A lot of people are saying that our defensive frailties we need to sort out. I actually don't think we've been that bad defensively this year. I said it on the special and when we've discussed it previous. I think it's actually going forward, and probably the wingers. I know we've had injuries, but the wingers at the moment where we're creating like 20 odd chances a game, and we're not like pitting teams away, like we won maybe at the start of the season or maybe under Ange. So for me, that's where I'd be looking to strengthen. I know we maybe talk about where we want to look to strengthen, but so yeah, it's exciting to see him come in. When it comes to the fee, I'm sick of saying this. I couldn't give a flying fuck about. I couldn't care if we spent £100 on Kyogo or 100 million on him. He's quality. So for me, the fee is. I don't understand why you would want to pay X amount for a player when you can get him for cheaper. And I know they're saying we need to get a player at that valuation, but the valuations for different players, depending on contracts and all the rest of it, all differ. And it's like I just think that people get so fixated on a transfer fee for a player. I don't understand it. Like I say, I couldn't care less about the fee. I just want quality coming in. And like I say, the perfect example would be even like Larson, who's paid 650 grand for. If we paid that for him or 100 million, like I couldn't care less as long as he's good enough. And that's like, yeah, it's a bee in my bonnet about this fixation on a transfer fee of a player. I don't understand it.
I think it's more to do with what we have in the bank. We've discussed that previously at length in different podcasts, Ross, and you're sitting there with 72 million in the bank, and people are going 2.8 million euros is not really a big chunk of that. But from what I can tell anyway, and the sources you see on Twitter, Stephen McGowan, who's usually reliable, saying this is one of Rodgers and Celtic's top target. Yeah. They've pushed ahead. They've got the deal done, and you can't really turn your nose up at it, especially when you know Rodgers is the one who wanted this deal to happen.
Aye, listen, I'm like Willie. The fixation on fees and this probably more so the last 6 months. So, like, say, for the summer until now, the fixation on fees is absolutely remarkable. Listen, I know we spent 6 million on Carter Vickers and we spent 6 million on Jota, right? And the two of them turned out good players. But then you look at it and nobody was complaining. What was it, 2 years ago now, I think, when we signed Hatate, we signed Matt O'Reilly. Mm-hmm. I think it was 2 years ago in January. Matt O'Reilly was 1.8 million. Hatate was like 2 million or something. Nobody was going on about the fees then. Yep. And these players have ended up top players for Celtic and probably will leave for large amounts. So, like Willie, I'm not really bothered how much they cost. You look at it and it doesn't sort of get you totally excited because you know nothing about the guy. Then the fee isn't huge, so it's no getting the sort of igniting the fire in your belly, if you like. Where like if we signed, I don't know, somebody for Wolves or something that people had heard of and had seen, and he was going to be 5 million, be like, oh, he's got to be class. But you have to give these guys a chance. Listen, I said this in the summer, and I've sort of got egg on my face a wee bit, but I never said these guys were going to be great in the summer. I just said that you have to give them a chance. Some of them have worked out, some of them haven't. Again, the fee doesn't bother me in the slightest. I just want the guy to come in, and if he's good and he plays well, then you can sit here and go, we've got this guy at a snap, a quality player. Whereas if you signed him for 5 million, he played well, you go, well, he cost 5 million, that's what he's worth. That's what you expected. But I don't know. I didn't like to get in a downer and get caught up because he's only 2.8 million. I mean, £2.8 million, that's a lot of bloody money, really. But when you talk about the grand scheme of what Celtic have got in the bank, people keep going on about this and saying like Celtic spent like £6 million 20 years ago in Hearts and Sutton and Lennon and all that. And if it's a totally different time, it is not comparable for me. The level of player that we were able to get for £6 million, we would have to spend 30, 40, 50, 60 million to get that level of player in this window now to allow us to do what they guys done for us in this sort of European stage. Again, I'll just go back to it. The fee doesn't bother me. Just come in and do well, and hopefully that's what he'll do.
See with that as well, like I think Ross agrees with me. I would suggest that Ross is, we're not saying that if there's a quality player out there that's worth 15 million, we shouldn't sign them. Like, I'm happy, like, go for it. But what I'm saying is, I'm no bothered if they're spending 1 million on a player or 15 on a player. And it's funny how when you mentioned like the Hartsons and Suttons and Lennons and that, and even like say Ayetis and Julians, we've spent big money on. I can never remember a time anybody getting so fixated on the transfer fee. Nobody was bothered about it. It just seems like now everybody's so fixated that we need to spend X amount on a player. I just don't understand the fixation on the fee. I could sit here and rhyme you off 20 players that cost absolute fortunes that were fucking mince, and I could also give you players that were next to nothing. Like say Tony Kroos went to Real Madrid for like 15 million or so, 12 million or something like that. Like absolute steals, and it's not because he's no quality. Like he would go for 80 million. You know what I mean? So I just don't understand the fixation on the fee.
But do you not think
you have to? Sorry, Stephen. I was just going to say, Wally's made the point there that you can rhyme off guys that we've spent a lot of money on and they've been shite, and then guys that we've not spent a lot of money on and they've been brilliant. You have to obviously say
vice versa.
Vice versa. But that goes back to what I was saying earlier, where the market we operate in, you're going to have almost as many duds. When I say duds, that's the wrong word, but you're going to have almost as many players that aren't going to work out as what are. It just so happens that we've had probably a run in the last year more people that haven't worked out than have, and that's what has to change, and I believe it will change. But whether that's on Mark Law or whatever, I don't know. But it's we've went through a wee run not getting it quite right, but it's not because of the fees. It's just the players haven't worked out. It's whether it's bad scouting or whatever. But if we could go and spend this on this guy and he could be brilliant, and then people forget about the fee.
That affirms what we're saying. Sorry, Stephen, again. So that reaffirms what we're saying about no bothering about the fee, though. What you're saying, you're totally agree. It's vice versa. We've spent little money on players that have succeeded and big money on players that haven't, but we've also spent little money on players that haven't succeeded and big money on players that have. That's why the fee doesn't bother me, because
it doesn't matter.
Why? It doesn't. It's all about
the performance.
And it's all the rest of it that goes with it as well. We've already talked about it tonight and how people settle into the country and the team and all the rest of it. There's so many different variables going into a transfer. It's not just a matter of, well, if you spend 10 million, he's going to be quality. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I think as well, though, you made the argument in regards to the fees previously for Sutton, Hartson, £6 million, and Neil Lennon as well at them periods of time. I think what people are probably frustrated with, and Pat, who's a new commenter, but welcome along, haven't seen you in the podcast before, he's adamant that we should be signing 3 or 4 players at £10 million to make an impact and win the SPL and then recoup £60 million by getting into the newly revamped Champions League. So the frustration for me is probably from us not moving with the times. £6 million in 2000 and 2001, we should be spending. Now, look, I'm not saying us, but double that, maybe £12 million now on 1 or 2 transfers a season. That's where I think the frustration is happening, and people are going, we're playing in the same kind of field where it's too. Look, again, I think Nicolas Kühn will be a good signing from what I've seen on him, but what I'm saying is the 2.8 million fee is underwhelming to a lot of people. And look, I get what you and Ross are saying in terms of you're not bothered by the transfer fee, but can you understand why people are going, we're playing around in this market a lot?
Yeah, but
why not be like?
What I would say back to that is, though, at that time, I think I believe, this is just my opinion. Obviously, people are different, and that's great. This is what this is all about. It's about debate. But for me, back at that time, we had a massive TV deal, and we had much more. I know we've got plenty of money in the coffers now, but we had a massive TV deal back then. So we had that money. That was like, that's a massive thing compared to now, where we've got pittance for the TV deal money. Secondly, the likes of a Hartson, it's a totally different market, in my opinion now. See the likes of Hartson and Sutton and all these guys. If we took somebody for Chelsea now, like we did with Sutton, and he was an ex-Premier League winner, and it just didn't work out. We're having to pay 50, 60, 70 million for this player. No 6 or 7, whatever it was we paid for Sutton. It's a totally different transfer market now. We've discussed it.
Aye.
Like saying Newcastle signed a young boy for Chelsea that I had barely made. I don't even know if he made a first team appearance for Chelsea, and they're paying like 30, 40 million for him. Like Celtic can't, we can't compete with that. And also, I firmly believe that football it's a totally different game now, and the fact that back then, yeah, he's right. He's totally right, John.
He's right.
Back then, I feel like players had a bit more respect for our club and the league that we play in, but also these players, because the money is nowhere near as what it was now, and I'm not saying they didn't get paid because they obviously did, but it was more about winning trophies and competing in Champions Leagues and all the rest of it. Whereas now players are like, in a short career, I'd rather play for Sunderland for 5 years and make 50 grand a week than go to Celtic and I'll play in the Champions League, but I'm only going to get 10 grand a week. And I just think that that's the mindset of players now. I just think it's a totally different game. It's a totally different environment. So I do take on board and I understand the argument, but I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's a fair comparison, in my opinion.
By the way, I agree with that. Like, I take on board the comparison. You made the point there, Stephen, obviously countering, talking about Hartson and Sutton and that costing £6 million, and we should move with the times and pay £12 million on a player now. But £12 million.
That's just a fee I plucked out of my mind.
No, I know that, but like that sort of fee is like probably the highest end of what Celtic would be able to pay. They've never paid any in that region before. I just think that sort of fee doesn't get you that level of player now. Although I think you can move with the times, but that sort of Champions League level that we're talking about, if you want to get a Champions League ready player, he's not costing you £12 million. He's costing you £20 million, £30 million. That's a Champions League ready player. Champions League ready players don't come to Celtic. I don't think that sort of £12 million fee doesn't get you, like Willie said, an ex-Premier League winner. It's football. The landscape of football has changed drastically, and Willie makes the exact point I was going to make in terms of talking about fuck's sake, just a mind blank. I can't remember what I was going to say, but it was off the back of Willie's point. I was agreeing with Willie.
So I'm looking at the comments here, and obviously people are talking about Wanyama 900k, John Van Dijk was 2 million, all that Frimpong and Moussa Dembele, the likes of these guys as well. I'll come back to you, Ross, since you forgot where you were. Maybe this will trigger a wee memory on the path here. You mentioned recruitment of Mark Lowell earlier on the podcast, and I've seen a lot of content online from Celtic supporters saying, take your eyes away from the board a minute. They've give a lot of the amount of money for the transfer department. Mark Lowell and his recruitment team, and as you rightly said, give us a lot of shite in the last possibly year and a half, bar one or two players. So when does that fall on him? And then when, roundabout way, should he be removed from position? Because his track record is probably below 30% in terms of what he's brought into Celtic, and Rodgers has come in, he's praised the recruitment policy, but then again, he came out recently and said we need more quality and this and that. So he's kind of not backtracking, but he's saying we should have signed more quality. Do you think Mark Lowell has a lot to answer for and his staff under him in terms of scouting and getting these players through the door?
On the evidence of what's been brought in the last, has he been in situ for about a year now? On the evidence,
year and a half, I think.
Well, on the evidence of what he's brought in for the most part, if it's all been him that's took these or put these players to the manager, you can't sit here and say that it's been a success. It's not. But I'm not calling for the guy to lose his job, not by any stretch. But I think people keep going on about they need to be Rodgers guys and stuff like that. So I think probably in terms of, I think I was going to say, you can start judging obviously Law for before, but I think for here going forward now, working alongside Rodgers, we can start making a judgment, because the Rodgers is no, for me, brought in any of his own players properly yet. I don't think. Maybe Navrocki a push, but I think in the next two windows, if it doesn't go well, I think you'd have to be looking at one, Mark Law, two, depending on the results off the back of the poor recruitment, possibly Rodgers a year down the line. But I mean, I'm not advocating by any stretch for Rodgers to lose his job. I'm just obviously thinking a bit further down the line. But it's not been a success for Mark Law, and he needs to start doing his job a bit better. I think, was it Lee Congerton we had in at one point, and he was a disaster. He came in, I think he came in off the back of John Park, and Congerton was a disaster. Listen, for me, I would move heaven and earth to get John Park back, because his hit rate was absolutely outstanding for me. Certainly
not a Rangers, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. But he was Agent Park. But Lennon's first spell, I think he brought in a lot of good players. At that time, you look at it. Obviously, we were aware of guys like Ledley. Not so much Adam Matthews, but then you brought guys in. I think we'd brought in Key, Kyle, guys like that, and they were all really good players, big successes at Celtic. I think he needs to start getting the hit rate on signings better. I don't know if this Kühn has been scouted by Mark Law and taken to Rodgers, or Rodgers known about him. We'll not be privy to that, but certainly, whether it's Mark Law, Celtic as a whole need to start getting the recruitment better, and that's no by spending £6, £7, £8, £9 million on guys that are you still don't know at that price for me whether it would be a success or not. It goes back to just, if you think they're quality, get them in, whatever the fee is, obviously within reason. But I'm not saying lose your job for Mark Law, but if he doesn't start getting it right soon, then there has to be a conversation had. But whether that will happen is another thing, because it's obviously your man's laddie, innit?
I've seen in the comments as well there, like what you said, Big Red Willie was saying, any other position in life, working environment, if you come up with them results, you're out the door. And I tend to agree. And Ross, I know you're not advocating for him to lose his job, but his hit rate for me is terrible. You mentioned John Park. He was excellent. Lee Congerton was a shambles. And then Nick Hammond we had for a while. And people like that just to fill gaps, and they were just brutal at that job. And Mark Lowell, to me, is slowly falling into that bracket, Willie. Lanky said something there that was interesting. I want to ask you. He said he was watching the overlap, and they were speaking in this episode.
Just a bit. They were speaking.
They were speaking in the episode about who should have the final say: head of recruitment, director of football, or a manager. So, I mean, since you're about to bring it up, you take it away. What you think, and then also when does it fall on Mark Lowell and his team to blame for the recruitment?
I was just about to bring it up. It's my second favourite podcast after this one. Obviously, the stick to football overlap. It's absolutely superb, and it was a transfer window special. And Neville just kind of said, right, who should be in charge of transfers? And the likes of Jill Scott and Ian Wright were like, well, it's the manager. And it was interesting because Neville's obviously he's an owner, a part owner of Salford, so he was kind of coming for the owner's side, and he's like, well, that's my money. I've got a whole recruitment team. Why should the manager, I'm really lanky, why should the manager be, in charge of that? But then the conversation kind of went on, and it's exactly what you're saying. Like, the manager can get 8 months in a job and get punted because he's not done a good enough job, or the signings haven't been good enough. But you never hear about the recruitment getting sacked after 8 months. They're in the job. So it was a really interesting debate. And I mean, it's got to be questioned. Like you were saying, if you're not performing in your job, then But I mean, how long's Lowell been in? Is it just one window?
But a year and a half. No,
so
he
two windows.
came in. Postacoglu's January transfer window. We came in the last one. He had the summer, and now he has this January.
And who did we get last January?
But I think they were already earmarked. I don't think they really had anything to do with him at that point.
So then he's technically only had one and a half windows. Then if they're all earmarked, then so what I would say about that is like I would he needs a bit more time. I agree if he's had another couple of windows and we're still there's no improvement in the eye. There needs to be questions asked. But yeah, I would implore you if you're interested in that sort of thing, go and watch that because it's such an interesting debate. And Gary Neville's obviously really knowledgeable about all these things, and he's like your sporting director he's the one that should be picking these players. But then there was all sorts of debate about how the manager has like set key highlights on a player, i.e. it's my philosophy is whatever, high press. I don't want anybody over the age of 24. I want this, that. And then the recruitment team go and do that, then bring it back to the manager, and it's like a collective thing. Like their point was Pep Guardiola's no making any signings. He's got a philosophy that needs to fit these recruitment team, find players that would fit that philosophy. So see if they're hitting every mark except the age thing. No, I don't want them because of the age thing. But again, it doesn't always work out. Look at Calvin Phillips at Man City. Doesn't get a sniff, and he was obviously a talented player. So it doesn't always work out, even at the best teams. Just a really, really interesting debate. And everybody talks about how it needs to be Rodgers signings, but it's not. It's a collective thing. You know what I mean? That's fair enough. See, to be fair, I think that Brendan's been fairly honest with all these sort of things this season. Obviously, there's certain aspects we can't, and certain situations arise, and this is why I hate the media and I hate the rumours because, I mean, there was a big Croatian keeper at the start of the season where it's like we should have had him, but it's not. It might not have been a matter of that Celtic didn't go after him or didn't want to pay the fee. Could be didn't want to come to the league, but we're no privy to these details. So all of a sudden, it's just everybody at Celtic's fault when it might not be the case. The boy might have just said, "No, I'm not fucking going there and get $100,000 a week at Galatasaray or Fenerbahce or whatever he's went." So I just think sometimes pointing the finger when we don't I don't know what's going on. I don't like the pointing the finger because I'm not privy to all the details. But that if Mark Lawwell's not, if we've got another couple of windows, then his job should be on his coach should be on a sugary peg 100% because.
I like that sugary peg.
Because again, Ross alluded to it earlier. We were kind of sorted. Is defending the right word? Defending the club on the back of the transfer window there, but I mean, Ross saying he felt a bit stupid because he feels like people are vindicated. But I was like, "But you're not," because you never said that they were top players. You just said give the boys a chance and let us see. And there has been a couple there that are starting to come through, the likes of Bernardo's, and I think the likes of Holman, that could be a player. And the Rocky looks decent. We've just talked about how Lagerbielke, we don't think he's put much of a foot wrong. So that there is positives there, but I totally agree with everybody that the window was not good enough. In a position of strength where our team was absolutely flying under Ange, and we only lost Jota and Starfelt, we should have been looking to improve further, and we didn't do that. Totally agree with that now that I've seen these players. Just like Kühn, everybody's ranting and raving, but none of us have ever seen them on we can watch YouTube, but we've never seen them play like a regular over a number of weeks to judge them. So I forgot what I was saying. I keep putting but we're going to sign him, Jed. Don't worry, 6 million. In fact, we'll just pay 10 million for him so everybody can fucking shut up. I actually sort of half hope we buy somebody for 15 million and he's absolutely dog shite, just so people will just stop talking about it. But for me, it's like I don't think there's any one person to blame. It's a collective. I don't think it's like one person saying we need to sign this boy. It's like as a collective they pick that, and it needs to come down. And I do think I'm not making excuses. But Brendan was only just through the door and he had 6 weeks of pre-season or whatever it was. I think it's tough to come in and try to put your stamp on things and then find that player that fits your philosophy. Because I think a number of players that were absolutely flying for Ange haven't been so much under Brendan because it's a totally new philosophy to learn. So there's so many mitigating factors. But that podcast was really interesting. See, what I would say as well, I'd like to ask you too, is I'd like to say, like, I want to say to Stephen especially, see if Celtic targeted a player, right, and he was quality and we wanted to sign him, and he was a £12 million player, for example. Do you think we'd pay that right now?
No, there's no evidence to say. There's no evidence to say we would. I think we would try and do what we're doing with Bernardo, what we've done with Jota and Carter Vickers, to kind of loan the buy, try before you buy. In an ideal world, you know me, Willie, I'm always honest about it. I think we should be spending and be accumulative and speculate to accumulate and try them sort of signings maybe once in a while. And like, I know you said they're kind of tongue in cheek, and maybe not. You hope we sign a player at £12 million and they're absolutely dog shit. Look, again, this is going to be this is going to be the running argument for years and years. If Celtic don't break their record fees, it's going to be a chat we're going to have hopefully for years to come in regards to summer and January transfer windows. I, for one, want Celtic to push the boat out, but I do understand why. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand the points of reasoning why maybe we can't do it. I mean, Maestro 95's in there saying wages. Jed Thomas said a £12 million player would ask for 80k. That was 80k in wages. Yeah, so there, as you said, there's different things and different factors and maybe why we can't do that. But again, I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility that we could do. And like another kind of side note on the recruitment, and I thought you made some great points in regards to the overlap. If anyone wants to deep dive into it, watch the Sunderland documentary.
Yeah,
you see you see everything. And there was one scene in it where the chief recruitment or whatever guy, chief scout, comes out and they're looking for a striker. And there's like 5 names, and like way down the list at the bottom was Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and they're just looking at him and going, "Really?" It was just quite funny.
See, and even sorry, mate. See with that Sunderland one as well. The owner, I can remember. There's a scene where the owner phones the manager, and the manager says he wants that Will Grigg. He says I'd love to sign him, and the owner says, "Right, we can get him, but it's for this." And the manager on the phone call says, "Nah, that's too much money. I wouldn't spend that on him." So this is the sort of thing when I talk about with the managers. Like, I want that player, but the manager's saying, "No, that's too much for him." And then the owner went and signed him anyway because it was obviously deadline day, and they were like, so they needed to go and they sign somebody, and that's what they've done. So, but I was wanting to make that point. I totally forgot about it. I'm glad people in the chat have said it, Jed and the likes. The fees aren't an issue. Like, Celtic can afford that, but it's the wages are like, if we buy somebody that's sitting on a bench at Bournemouth, he's sitting on 70 grand a week. That's like, our top earners nowhere near that. Some probably half of that. We just can't compete with that. And John's bang on in the comments as well. The English Premier League's absolutely ruined football. And I think it's hilarious that the likes of Carragher and Neville are saying we need to stop what Saudi are doing now with football. Because it's ruining football, and it's like you fuckers have been doing it for 20 plus years.
20 years.
You fuckers. So get what's coming to you. Bring it on. I know I like your Saudi money and all that. It's a bad thing, but if it fucking ruins English football, then I'm all for it because they've done that to the rest of us.
Yeah, totally agree. And I was going to say as well, have you watched the Welcome to Wrexham shows yet? I've caught a few of them. They're really good in terms of recruitment and different things like that. Obviously, Ryan Randall's not coming from America, but yeah, I mean, look, kind of go back to the transfer window itself, Ross, and it was great discussion. Everyone got involved in the comments. I do appreciate that, and with ourselves as well. Good debate. Just kind of, Rodgers has said he knows that they can't really upgrade certain positions till the summer, and he's content with that. But he's made it clear he wants to get quality in. You said 2 players, so if we're led to believe Kühn's coming in for the winger spot, what would be the other position for yourself that you would strengthen?
I would try and get another striker in. I know Willie said that he doesn't think, like, say, he made the point earlier talking about, like, Siegrist coming in is similar to, like, talking about Miovski or Shankland coming in. But I think where it differentiates is the fact that with a goalkeeper, you stick with the goalkeeper. You don't tend to substitute a goalkeeper, whereas with your centre forwards, you tend to not chop and change, but you make substitutions during games. And I think we need another option other than O. especially given the fact that he'll probably be away in the Asian Cup for how long, I don't know. But if I think where I agree with Willie, he said that he doesn't think we've been that bad defensively, and I don't think in this window for to take us into the second half of the season domestically only, remember, because we've no European football now. I think that we've got more than enough at the back. You could maybe say try and strengthen at left back. I would say aye, if we can do it, then go and do it. But I would that the winger and the striker would be in front of that for me. But again, if we can get somebody to chat, not take well, listen. If you can get somebody that's going to be better than Greg Taylor, then by all means do it. But there's no guarantees that they're going to be. Greg Taylor, for me, is more than enough domestically for the second half of the season. The problem is Bernabei, isn't he? So do you go and sign a left back that can possibly challenge Greg Taylor, but maybe not be the guy to take over? Everybody thinks Greg Taylor's shite and is not good enough, and they want better. So do you go and try and get somebody, and maybe it ends up just being another Bernabei in this window, or you don't know where Celtic are in that, or how far down the line they are in scouting guys for that position to try and replace Greg Taylor. But for me, I think Greg Taylor didn't have a great first half of the season, but the last sort of month or so, I think he started getting back to what he was under Ange. I think he's very effective for Celtic, certainly domestically. I'm not saying for one second that we can't get better and should get better for if and when we're having another tilt at the Champions League. But again, I'm not signing somebody that's definitely going to be better than Greg Taylor, because I think for Celtic that's difficult to do. You look at it. On the other side, like Alistair Johnston has come in. He started off absolutely brilliant. He's not been as good this season. On the face of it, now would I say Alistair Johnston is any better than Greg Taylor for Celtic? On the other side, no, for me. I think both of them are. There's not much between both players. So for Celtic to go and get somebody that's absolutely going to be better than Greg Taylor, I think you have to spend quite a bit of money on a guy. Listen, that sort of contradicts what I said earlier, because you might get somebody that is better than Greg Taylor and get lucky, and it'll be a minimal fee. But I think in this window, if we are getting a left back, it has to be because Bernabei isn't good enough, not because Greg Taylor isn't good enough. Everybody's concentrating on the fact that we need to get a left back because Greg Taylor's shite, when in actual fact we need to get a left back because Bernabei's shite, and if Greg Taylor gets injured, then we're in deep, deep trouble. I think that's why we need to get a left back. But again, I would say that striker and winger are more at the forefront in my mind, because again, it's domestic football we're talking about. Celtic are going to have the lion's share of possession, and as long as Greg Taylor is okay, or Alistair Johnston is okay, I think Ralston domestically for the odd game here and there will be good enough. I don't think Bernabei is, but as I say, I think we need to strengthen the top end to give us more options there, because for the most part we're going to be in the front foot, try to score goals, and that is for me where we've not struggled, because we're sitting top of the league, but we need more options. I think that, like Willie said earlier in the podcast, we make loads of chances, but I think it's that final ball, that wee bit of cutting edge sometimes in games that we've been lacking. And I think if we can get, listen, I would be quite happy to get Miovski, but I'm not advocating that it should be Miovski. Cheers, mate. I'm not advocating that it should be Miovski, but I just think that we need somebody who's going to hit that byline and provide the quality across that Palma can, but fae the byline rather than coming inside and playing in front of. We need to get in behind teams more than what we have been, and that's just my feeling on the sort of what we need.
Yeah, no, I agree with you in that aspect of things. I mean, another striker for me wouldn't be a priority. I know what I mean. To be fair, we only have Kyogo at the minute, but maybe a loan signing that ties through the end of the season. Um, you mentioned left back Ross and Willie. I don't know if you've seen the rumor. There's rumors that were linked with a Portuguese. I think it's Ario. I'm probably butchering that name. He plays for I think it's Estrela. So he does, and he's played over 100 games for them. He looks decent. And you mentioned someone that come in to challenge Greg Taylor. Maybe this is the guy to do it, Willie. Maybe they're prioritising left back and a winger because I think like Ross and I, we're not going to get 4 players in, maybe 2 or 3 in my opinion. So same thing that the Ross, like where would you prioritise for now to see us through the end of the season and guarantee this league title?
Yeah, much the same for me. It's a striker that I think we need somebody that's going to sort of come in and challenge Kyogo for the shirt. Because as much as we all love Kyogo, and he's been, I think he's been a victim of his own success in the first, his first tenure here, his first couple of seasons here. But sometimes he's just not. I mean, nobody can come and play 9, 10 out of 10 every week. So we need somebody to come in, much like we had when we had Giakoumakis, somebody to push him and like come and take minutes off him, because I don't think O's necessarily that player at the moment. I think O's just a player that comes on when we want to give Kyogo the last 20 minutes of the game rest. So yeah. for me, it would be that, and I'm not saying it needs to be Giakoumakis or the same sort of physical type of player. What I'm saying is somebody that can come in and push Kyogo and try and get that shirt off him. That for me would be priority. It's easier said than done, obviously. It's the hardest thing in the game to put the ball in the back of the net. So for me, that would be priority. Again, I'm like everybody else. Obviously, like we need to look at a left back, but I don't think it's a priority at the moment. I think Taylor's been more than capable this year. I think obviously, I think he comes in for unfair criticism a lot of the time, but I don't think. See, to be honest with you, right? See, even if we've done nothing in this window, I still think obviously that it's not going to happen, and I mean the backlash for fans and social media. I try to stay away from social media because I know what you're going to say. Thankfully, I've got this because this is my forum to kind of vent my frustrations. I don't need to get involved in forums anymore. But like the backlash would be incredible. But if we didn't sign a soul this window, we've still got that squad's still more than capable of going and winning that league at a canter. We've got players that we've not had for the first half of the season, in Hatate and Abada. Maeda's been missing for a number of weeks. CCV's been in and out and been out with injury and all that. All these players, Abadan that's coming back is going to be like new signings. Hatate as well is going to absolutely give the whole club a lift. So we're top of the league. Obviously, it's not been proper cruise control like it has been previous seasons. But we're top of the league. And I mean, we're doing well. Like it's not as if it's a fucking horrendous season. This team's more than capable of going on and winning that league and winning it by a number of points. Saying that, obviously, I want us to improve, but what I'm saying is, I don't think it's like all hell for leather. We need to get X amount of players in. I think this window, like I said, is going to be about trimming the squad, trimming the squad a bit, because I think this summer is going to be. There's going to be a massive turnover. I think there's going to be like a fire sale within players of the club, and I think there's going to be a lot of bodies coming in this summer. So I think it's about sort of preparing for that. And Dale!
It's a Friday. It's a Friday club.
Dale! Stephen's Nicolas.
No idea.
He wasn't even born. He was just a stain in the sheets at that point.
Yeah, he wasn't even a stain in the sheets.
So
that's a tiny little dog shape.
I think this window is more about preparing for the summer. I think we get 1 or 2 in. It looks like Kühn's going to come in through the door. For me, I'd get a striker, and I'd be happy. if we trimmed some of the squad as well. And yeah, because I think summer's going to be the summer's going to be pivotal on what happens going forward with Rodgers and the team. I agree, Pat. Like I said, I would like a big physical presence in there, because I do think that's missing sometimes. But again, I'd be happy in the window if we got a couple in and we got a fair whack out, because I think we do need trimming, and I'll be excited for the summer coming. But again, I'll reiterate it again. If we didn't get anybody in, that squad's going to go and win the league. It's the quality's still there. We obviously want better, but sort of Europe's out the window now. So it's just the domestic that we've got to look forward to. If we bag the league in the Scottish Cup, it's a massively successful season again, and what's turned out to be a sort of transitional period, which I can't believe it is after like what Angie's squads did, and we've still got the majority of that squad here. I just don't see how. It seems like there's a bit of panic about the club in the last.
Yeah, it's felt like that for a while.
4 months.
It's felt like that for a while.
Majority of the season, and I don't understand why. I feel obviously we've been knocked out of cup and we had a couple of defeats, but Jesus Christ, you think we were fucking relegation? What are you out there? Honey? Is he fucking throwing petrol bombs at my fucking house? You would think we were fucking near relegation or something. The way some people are going on, and again, because we've been so successful in the last however many years, it's difficult. And we talked about players coming in, not being able to deal with that. With the sort of the size of the club and how you said, even a couple of draws in a row, and it's like disaster. It's not just the players, that's management, that's board level, that's everything in the whole club. So I think it's ridiculous. It's at that point because it's no disaster for me. Like I say, we win the league, and if we go and win the Scottish Cup, it's a very successful season. And then I look forward to the summer. Hopefully we do the business in the summer and then go on. But that's obviously way well down the line. When it comes to January, I just to summarise, I just feel like this is a sort of preparing for the summer. I think we'll get one or two, and I don't think it'll be major overhauls. I'm no afraid, Dundee. Just was born there. So it's prep for me. I don't think it's panic stations, and I think that the positions that people are talking about, i.e., keeper and left back, I totally agree. We can improve in their positions, but we can improve in a lot of positions. We can improve at right back. We can improve at centre half. We can improve everywhere. I just think that we'll look to that. I think we'll look at that. They sort of positions in the summer.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And again, the comments they're flying in. And I think, to be fair, we've had a really good discussion around recruitment, transfers, and things of that nature. We're going to finish on a bit of a lighter note, Ross. And Roy Keane, for that infamous 6-month spell, he came in on loan to Clyde, defeat all that do-we and all that kind of banter from back then. He was doing, I think it was the overlap again, Willie. Maybe you watched the
episode. It was.
Aye. And he was talking about his time at Celtic, and he enjoyed it. But again, it was a bit of a culture shock, seeing the facilities and Barrowfield compared to United and that. But he was very upbeat and positive about his time. And wouldn't you know, the papers pick up on his comments about there was a couple of pricks, kind of the words he said, in the squad. And that they run with the headline, basically, King speaks negatively about his time at Celtic, when it wasn't that at all. Seeing the clip that he spoke about. But just for a bit of fun, I've got the squad up here. I'll run through it, and you can decide who the couple of pricks are. So that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? So there was Arthur Porridge, David Marshall, Michael McGovern, Paul Telfer, Mo Kamara, Adam Fergal, Gary Caldwell, Bobo Baldy, Mark Wilson, Farga, Mulgrew, John Kennedy, Steve McManus, Darren O'Dea, Scott Kirkbert, Gary Irvine, Alan Thompson, Stephen Pearson, Roy Keane, Neil Lennon, Stilian Petrov, Nakamura, Ross Wallace, Paul Lawson, Rocco Quinn, Michael Gardine, Ian McGeady, Simon Ferry, open goal. And the attackers finally were Saraski, Dion Dublin, John Hartson, Sean Maloney, Craig Beattie, Mick Lindsay, and Dermot O'Carroll. Who are the pricks in that squad, do you reckon, Ross?
Craig Beattie, John Hartson, probably.
I reckon he wouldn't. I reckon he wouldn't have got on with Lennon.
Oh, that'd be a bit of a. That would be two words colliding. Neil Lennon top chief up there.
Probably wanted to ragdoll Adam Virgo for being absolutely shite.
Or I see if Cy Ferry and that's anything like that an open goal.
Oh,
like the big Jack the lad in the hingy, he'd have just been like,
aye.
He wouldn't have liked that at all. It would have been pretty much any of the players that didn't train well, because he hates that.
Tell me this, Willie, right? Speaking of Roy Keane, I know we're having a laugh about it, and people in the comments again saying Graverson, Bhoys probably, Graverson, another big character, McGeady as well, Plumsbig Nugget. Do you think we could attract a player of his ilk again? I know he was 34, 35 towards the end of his playing career, but he was still playing for United regularly the season before and things like that. Do you think that people look at them signings, albeit alone, and be like, why can we not do that again? Or is it just...
I think.
Do you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I understand it. I just think the model of the club's different now. I just don't think I don't think they want to go down that route. I don't think they want to sign the Robbie Keanes and the Craig Bellamy's Bellamy was different because he was. I don't think he was in his prime at that point yet. I still think he still had a bit to go. But the likes of Robbie Keane and Freddie Ljungberg and all these players that have kind of came on loan, I just don't think that's Celtic's model anymore. And I don't think any of us would be happy with that. If we were sitting here in January and we had I can't even think off the top of my head somebody that would be, but somebody of that ilk that's like he was a decent player, but he's coming to the end of his career. I don't think any of us would be happy with that signing anymore.
Doesn't fit the mould, eh?
Nah.
The actual squad.
Nah, it doesn't. Although Robbie Keane one's a bit different as well because he was still a player. But the likes of like Ljungberg and Ian Wright and all that, they were like they were done and well past it. And Keane always said he says it in that podcast. He said, "Look, I wouldn't change it. Like I loved going up to Celtic there, and he's so fond of the club. He says it's a massive club." But he was like, he actually says, I was done. I went up and had 2 injuries. I already knew like my knee wasn't right and all the rest of it, and I probably shouldn't. I should have probably just retired. But he did say he enjoyed the fact that it was like a culture change, and he actually says he thinks back in his career now, and he had the chance to go to like Juve and all these, and he's like, I think Beckham was on one of them, and obviously Beckham's been everywhere. And he's like, that's one thing I'm a bit envious of. I think, like, obviously my affinity for Man United is a big thing, but I kind of wish I went away and experienced another culture and a different changing room and different, So, but to answer your question, I just don't think it fits the model anymore. And even if he's talking about in the prime, would definitely kind of attract somebody of that. See, it's funny when you were on last week and Gavin was asking you questions about who your sort of football hero was growing up, and he was mine. One of my early memories was that Juve game, and I just remember him getting booked and then just absolute monster and just took the game. Like I don't think a bit like, well, it's not the same, and it's not the same class, but a bit like Callum McGregor can do for Celtic. There's no many players that can do that. Just take the whole game by the scruff of the neck and say, and you don't need to scream it, boys, as much as Keno did. Just lead by example. And everybody, I'll give one that gives the crowd a lift, and then that gives the whole team a lift and a buzz. What a player he was. I think Cal Mack's that player for us. But totally different model now. And I don't think we're into these sort of loan signings anymore. If it is, I think it's like the likes of Bernardo and Jota and CCV. It needs to be with a view to it being a permanent. And I think, you know what? We're talking about spending this big money on players. I think you're right, Stephen. You said it. I think that's the route. If we are going to spend big money, that's the route we're going down. We're going to bring them in on loan. And it'll be a big future fee. We'll have a look at him for a year, 18 months, and then we'll pull the trigger. We'll sign him because we know he can do the stuff.
Yeah, no, 100%. Monty, Colin, Kazim Richards. You think of some of the names, Carton Cole, all these guys. Dion Dublin, that come into Celtic Ross back then, and all the kind of washed up Premier League players coming for a final payday. Wouldn't say Roy Keane fits that mold. He was still 34, and I know his injuries kind of finished him off and things, but would you agree with Willie? Do you think that whole signing them EPL players who are 30 to 35, it's gone now? I mean, Michael Mitchell said he was still like the same players that experience, but for me, I totally agree with Willie. We very rarely agree on transfers and recruitment, but I think if we're sitting here at the end of the transfer window and we've made free loan signings from EPL clubs, you wouldn't be happy no more with that.
Well, it depends who it is, but if they're like 35, you're not what to be doing that. It just doesn't fit the mould. Not only the sort of transfer policy mould, but the mould of the actual team on the park. It doesn't fit. We spoke on the group chat during the week about obviously it was a rumour, it probably won't happen, but Jordan Henderson.
Aye, that's a perfect example, by the way.
Aye, and I thought about it when I seen it. It won't happen, but I thought about it when I seen it, and I was like, Jordan Henderson has been a brilliant player. He's captained Liverpool. He was a regular and a really good England team. Whatever you think about England, they've got good players and they've got a good national team. And he's still, I think he's still getting picked for the national team. He's went to Saudi Arabia and he's probably went for the money, but he's realised this is actually, it's shite. I want out. He's not enjoying living in the country maybe as well. But you take all the things into account, and I still look at it and go, would I have him at Celtic? Do we need him at Celtic? Listen, he'll bring experience, absolutely. But is he coming up here for that sort of final payday? Not even payday, but that sort of last hurrah. What sort of mindset is he going to have? And then I look at our midfield and I go, we've got Hatate, O'Reilly, Bernardo, Cal McGregor. They're all bouncing now, all playing great. Hatate's coming back. He's proven he's got the quality. Where would he fit in? Is he going to come in a 6-month loan? Do we really need him to try and get over the line in the SPL and win the league? Probably not. So even like if it was the summer and he was coming in and it was maybe a year's loan and we had Champions League football to look forward to, I would maybe think about doing it then because of the experience, and just even if he wasn't playing week in, week out on the big Champions League nights, having sort of that guy who's still got quality to not rely on, but come in and help us out along the way, then possibly you would look at it. But right now, to get us over the line in the second half of the season, guys like that, no, for me, it needs to be enthusiastic, not young. I would like to see Celtic bringing more players in between the sort of 24, 25 to 28 bracket. I don't think we're bringing enough of them in. I think there's too many 21 to 23 year olds. I think we need to, the mid-20s needs to be hit a lot more, because then you've got a better chance. They've got a bit more experience, more games under their belt. I think they need to be going to that sort of bracket of player. But your 34, 35 loan signings, it's long gone for me. That stopped when Ange came in, and I think we should continue with that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, it was a good segue into Roy Keane and the EPL washed up players. But by all accounts, mate, I wouldn't have Jordan Henderson around our club, to be honest. That's just my opinion. We're stacked in midfield. Why add another midfielder? It's beyond stupid. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think, for me anyway, he wouldn't start. Do you think he would start? Like, genuinely?
No.
Nah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even hear him as second choice there. If he came in for whatever loan and we got an injury and he was ahead and he got game time ahead of the likes of Home or Awata, I'd be fuming, because these guys are the future. They should be the guys that are playing for us. And I don't think, much like Lager Bielka, whenever they two have came in, the limited time they've had, I don't think they've been horrendous. I don't think they've set the world alight, but I don't think they've been horrendous either.
Yeah, that's grand. But look, to round off the podcast, we're going to do a wee January transfer quiz between Ross and Willie. Just again, 5 questions, bit of crack. There's not much difficulty in these questions at all. Just kind of straightforward on previous Celtic January transfers and kind of that kind of stuff. Are you ready?
They need a pen and paper.
That would do. Yeah, that would suffice.
They're flitting again.
Get the move on in.
Let me know when you're ready.
Many questions, is it?
5.
Is it quick fire?
It's.
No, just write them down.
I will do. We'll do quick fire. Just want to do quick fire. First one to say it.
That's
Or do you want to write them down? Right, we'll write them down. Write them down. I'll be easy.
I think that works better.
Aye. It's alright. It means you all get a
It's like sitting with the wife fucking trying to organise what takeaway we're getting.
So just the same as last week, but it's only 5 questions.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Only 5 questions though. I wouldn't be that tough on these boys, you know that. You ready?
Yeah, man.
Right. Celtic signed John Joe Kenny in the January transfer window of 2021 from which club?
Fuck me. Absolute dog shite.
You got it?
Horrendous. I think so.
I think I've got it.
Question 2. Celtic signed Manny Perez in the January transfer window of 2019 from which club? And also, what nationality is Manny Perez? 2-prong question for 2 points.
2019?
Yeah.
Who the fuck is Manny Perez?
What club and what nationality?
Yes.
Right.
Let me know when you're ready. Willie seems like he's ready already.
No.
Is that confidence? Or you just...
No, is it fuck? I'm not that Scooby-Doo. I know both of them are wrong, but put his hand in. I can't even remember him.
Can't remember who.
Manny Perez.
Oh. Makes sense. He's ready for the next one?
Aye.
Mm-hmm.
Right, let's see here. Right, bear with me. Right. Celtic signed Facundo Bayo in January 2019 for £2 million from Streda, his club. I think it was Slovenia or Slovakia at that time. But who is his parent club now?
Bio.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's
Question number 3, isn't it? Yeah.
3, aye.
Oh, fuck, I know this.
I think you do. We spoke about it before in the chat.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I've just went to this.
That's so annoying. I've got that wrong. Oh, that's got to do my fucking head in. I'll not sleep at night now.
Question 4. Celtic also signed Timothy Weah in the January 2019 transfer window. 2-prong question. Again, what's his nationality and who does he play for currently?
Current club.
Currently?
Yeah.
Who the fuck does Bio play for? FML.
Fuck me, like.
Final question. They're not that difficult. Come on.
Oh, they are like.
Question 5. Celtic signed. Now this is February, but it still counts as the January transfer window. Celtic signed Colin Kazim Richards in February of 2016 on a free transfer from which club?
Oh shit! No, that's who he was at. Oh, did he go to them first?
I think, well, I'm not 100% on this, but I think I might have.
Right.
I can't remember what one he went to first or what he came for.
Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, I'm done.
Right, so you have your 5 answers then, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Question 1. John Joe Kenny signed from which club?
Everton.
Everton. 100%. Question 2.
100% right.
So both of you have a point each. Question 2. Manny Perez signed in 2019 from which club and what nationality is he?
I've got a Scooby-Doo. I guess Peruvian and Getafe.
I guessed
Ross?
Chilean and LA Galaxy.
No, it was North Carolina, and he's American. So he is. Question.
I actually
Was he a
had
keeper?
American.
No,
Was he a
he's a left back or something. So he was.
I had American and I changed it.
I remember
Just to double check here, question 3 was the bio question, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Aye.
So question 3. So Kühn bio signed for £2 million from Streda in January 2019. But who is his current club?
I'm sure he went to an English club. I've put Bournemouth, but I don't think that's right.
Ross?
I thought it was a French club and I thought they played in purple, but I couldn't mind the name. So
Toulouse,
I went Lons.
He was at Toulouse,
Watford.
but he went to an English club.
Watford. You're right, aye. So he did, aye.
Still one each.
Oh, you bastard.
Question 4. Timothy Weah.
He's raging his fucking Benefit Rangers.
Timothy Weah also signed in the January 2019 transfer window. But what nationality is he, and who does he currently play for?
American and Juve.
That's fucking right. 3 points each. Boy, 3 each. This could be the breaker here.
The other night.
3?
He did. So 1 point
each,
for... No, because it's a 2-pronged, so you get the point for the nationality.
Oh, aye, sorry, aye, right.
You get
I like a 2-prong.
a 2-prong. We don't like a 2-prong. Maybe 2 prongs, who knows? Question 5. Colin Kazim Richards signed in February 2016 on a free transfer from which club?
It's between 2, and I don't know what one he went to.
I went Sheffield United.
I went Derby County, but I think it's Fenerbahce.
Feyenoord.
Yeah.
Did he go to Fenerbahce after us?
I think he went to Derby after us, did he not?
I thought it was Derby before us.
I can mind him playing with either Stoke or Sheffield United at one point.
Right, we'll do a tiebreaker, and this is shouting out first, okay?
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Right, so just give me a second to get the question.
Lee Sharp.
So in January 2014, Celtic signed Lee Griffiths for £1 million from which club?
Wolves.
Well, he gets it. Well, he brings it home.
I said that will be.
That's
you
right.
I did, man. I did.
You did it.
I know.
But everyone,
totally did, but it's fine.
If I go back to... No, you didn't. Willie brings it home for free.
Oh, my God.
And Ross was fuming.
Maestro.
He was in first, and then he watched it back and he was like, oh, my God, I'm so embarrassed.
No, but it's obviously because of whatever delay there is, because I'm... See, there's Jed saying I said it first.
I have to give it from what I hear. So Maestro and Fonzie, you bring it home as well. But look, guys, it's been a great podcast, and I've really genuinely enjoyed it. There's still 57 live of us, 2 hours in. The Friday Club, we all know it goes on forever, but we'll have a great laugh doing it. And Willie and Ross, have you enjoyed it?
Brilliant, mate.
Aye, lots of great debate. I love all the different opinions. It seems like there's new people in the chat. Really positive. There's a bit of a buzz about the podcast again now. It's not just for the viewers, it's for all of us as well. So yeah, really pleased. Hopefully we get a couple in the window, and I can't wait for this winter break to be over so we can see the hoops in action again.
100%. Ross, what about yourself, buddy?
I thoroughly enjoyed it, mate. Good to be back on. I think that was last Friday I was on, and I think we hit the 3 hour mark just about with Gavin. But aye, really good, and the same as Willie. There's a buzz back about the podcast again, and hopefully it's coming across to the guys that are watching us. Obviously with the new guys for the Jungle Gyms that we've brought in, and obviously Jed who's in the comments. It's just great. I've got a good feeling about the podcast again, and well, we're obviously in the middle of the winter break now, and obviously we've got some spin-offs coming up as well. But I'm really looking forward to Celtic getting back in the park again and watching them, because to be honest with you, I've actually got to the point where I basically didn't really watch any other football apart
I
from
know.
Celtic.
I agreed. By the way, I didn't even watch Sports Scene back to watch the rest of the games anymore. I just watched
No.
Celtic live, and then I don't watch football again. And
No.
I actually get annoyed when we're not playing midweek, just so
So
I get
do
my
I.
fix. I want a
Breaks your week
Saturday,
up.
Wednesday.
Aye.
You miss them. You miss them when they're not playing. And see as well, Big Red. I seen your comment earlier saying you're going to share us among Celtic pages. Again, we
Appreciate that,
greatly
mate.
appreciate that. And anybody who wants,
Appreciate
look, anybody who wants to do that, we've built the community and it's getting bigger. There's new people in. We're all getting along. We're having debates. And like, again, echoing what Ross said, the Jungle Gyms and Jed Thomas have brought a new dynamism to the podcast. And over the coming weeks, especially here up until the end of the winter break, we're going to be doing some spin-offs and things like that, so plenty to look forward to. And look, not much to talk about Celtic ways. Oh yes, there is.
I'm
There's one
looking
on
forward
Monday.
to. Aye.
Yeah, I'm doing one on Monday, aye.
Go ahead, Ross, take it away. You give them the outline of it.
Oh, I don't know what the outline it is myself yet. No, well, basically, the sort of gist of it is, it's, so I'm going to do like a sort of trios, I don't know if you could call it trios World Cup, so like trios that we've had, so like the three amigos, Hartson, Larsson, Sutton, like that. I think I've got about 18, so I'm going to do it like, as I say, like a World Cup, and I don't know, we'll need to work out how to do it because I'm not sure how to run polls during the podcast, but what we'll do is I'll do a draw and we'll put trios against each other, it'll be straight knockout, and what we'll do is obviously to knock out, you guys watching can vote in the polls, ourselves hopefully can vote in the polls as well, and whoever gets the most percentage goes on to the next round, and then obviously within that we'll talk about each sort of trio and what their achievements at the club and stuff like that. So looking forward to doing it. I've still got a wee bit of work to, like, obviously finish it off and put the finishing touches onto it and stuff like that. And then obviously, as I say, we need to work out how to do these polls, because I think the last time we done a poll on it, John was the one that was showing us what to do there. So we'll get it all nailed down hopefully for Monday night, and we'll bring that. Is it 8 o'clock Monday night? 8:30. Half eight. Aye.
So you think that show is long? Get strap in. We've got 15 trios to talk about, and it's going to be good crack. And Michael's asking when. That'll be Monday, the spin off for the trios. Ross is going to host that. It's going to be great crack. And finally, again, thanks everyone in the comments. Thanks to William Ross, and until Monday, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.